Hello! So to follow on from the video where I talked about all of the tropes that I really love, I thought that to balance that out I should really do a video talking about the tropes that I unfortunately am not a fan of. Now this isn't to say that I won't read a book that has these tropes in it. I will, it's just chances are that element of the book I'm highly likely to dislike. The first one is either going on a journey to find or deliver something. So think Lord of the Rings. I just find those sort of modus operandi is not interesting to me, and they also tend to get really distracted, and I'm just like, stay on task. You have to get from A to B to either deliver this thing or get this thing. Just do that. Stop going off and doing other things. Just get on with what it is that you're meant to be doing. I find it frustrating. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm also really not a fan of open endings. Now I'm not talking about cliffhangers in series, although I'm not a huge fan of those either. I do like each book in a series to somewhat stand on its own. So not a huge fan of cliffhangers, but they can be done well. So I'm not talking about cliffhangers. What I'm talking about is when an author finishes either a standalone book or a series and leaves you to decide what happened. No, you're the author. If I wanted to write a book, I would write a book and I'd write the ending. Write the dang ending, people. I want to know what happened. I don't want to think about what happened. I want to know. Okay? I find it incredibly frustrating when we have to just decide for ourselves what happened. Not a fan of that. I just find it incredibly lazy and annoying, in fact. So, not a fan. And the trouble with the open ending thing is that you don't know that a book is going to have an open ending unless somebody tells you, and they wouldn't tell you because that's a spoiler. So you get to the end of a book that you maybe really enjoyed and then you don't know what happens to the characters. It's just so frustrating. You can tell that I'm very passionately against this. Then we have forbidden love, not to be confused with unlikely love, which is something that I really enjoy and mentioned in my tropes that I love video. Forbidden love though, not a fan. So Romeo and Juliet, for example, it's just, the thing is, I just don't buy it, because if it's forbidden for a reason, and the two people probably already have preconceived notions in place that would make them not fall in love with each other in the first place. So I just don't find it believable. It can be done well, but more often than not, I just find that I'm not able to suspend my disbelief enough to be able to buy those relationships. Along a similar sort of line, or not really, it's just to do with relationships again, where friends or lovers don't communicate with each other, and that is the cause of the strife, where the whole issue of the book could be resolved by a 2-second conversation between people. Now I can't give you examples because of spoilers, but just know I've seen this done so many times and I've yet to find a book where it's actually done well. You know, these people are supposed to be either in platonic or romantic love with each other, so it just doesn't make sense that they wouldn't have a conversation. And if they can't have that conversation with each other, they probably shouldn't be in any sort of relationship with each other anyway, because that's just not healthy. Talk to each other. Just have a conversation, please. Next, I'm not even sure if this is a trope, although I could say that for all of these, but this doesn't happen very often, but I have read a couple of books, and again I can't tell you which ones because of spoilers, but I've read a couple of books where it seems like the entire genre of the book changes halfway through the book or at some point in the book, and I don't like that because I picked up that book expecting one genre, not expecting a different genre. And although I am trying to read more broadly in genres, I just don't like to be blindsided by just the book entirely changing and not being about what it's meant to be about. Even if I like both genres that it's dealing with, I just don't like, I like to know what I'm dealing with when I go into a book basically, and that complete flip in tone and genre and everything. I just don't like that. I like to read the book that I picked up, not some other book that the author decided to write halfway through. Does that make sense? The next trope is the instantly good at everything character. I don't like it, I don't buy it, it's not realistic. You don't pick up a sword for the first time and become an epic fighter. That's not how it works. You have to build muscle and muscle memory, and that's how you become a good fighter. You don't just do it on a whim. You might have a natural proclivity to, in this instance, of sword fighting, and therefore learn it really quickly and pick it up really easily, but you're not going to have the calluses on your hands that you need. You're not going to have the muscle memory that you need. You're probably not even going to have the muscle tone that you need to be able to sword fight. So characters who just pick up a sword for the very first time, they've never even seen a sword before, and all of a sudden they're this amazing warrior. No. You might think that as a fantasy reader, I can just suspend all disbelief and everything is okay, but I have my limits. Dragons? Fine. Alternative universes? Fine. Unrealistic fighting ability? Not cool. Not cool. It's different when it comes to magic, because to a certain extent someone might have been subconsciously using magic throughout their life, and so some level of ability is potentially to be anticipated, and then if you add a natural proclivity to it, it doesn't cause as many problems as picking up a sword for the first time and being this amazing warrior. But in general, I just don't find that this particular trope works particularly well. This is another one that I'm not entirely sure if it's a trope or just a plot device, and I tend to find this most often in middle grade literature, and maybe it works well for that age group, but I don't personally think so. And it's where characters needlessly and consistently travel back and forth from one place to another place. I don't even know why it happens. We just keep going back and forth to the same place over and over and over again, expecting something different to happen, or not doing what we needed to do there in the first place, so we have to go back again and again and again and again. It drives me nuts. I like world building and I like plot progression, but I don't like repetitiveness. You know? So I've got an exception to this rule. I can't necessarily give you an example of this because of spoilers, but I can give you an exception to this. So hopefully that will help to explain what I mean, because sometimes it is necessary to travel to and from the same place. So in the Stormlight Archive, one of our characters, Kaladin, is what's called a bridge runner, and his job with a crew of other bridge runners is to carry a wooden bridge on his back across these sort of plains they've got caverns and things, and you need bridges to cross, and they consistently travel to and from these plains carrying this bridge. But they need to go each time because each time there's a new battle to fight, so it makes sense for them to be travelling and traversing the same land again and again and again. What I don't like is when it's needless, when it feels like it's just to fill space in the book. And you know what? If you need that to fill your word count, just go with a shorter book. I honestly do not understand this trope at all. I don't like it. I just don't like it. The next trope that I want to talk about is the revealed parent trope. I don't know why I don't like this. I don't have any specific reason for not liking this, I don't think, but I just don't like it when all of a sudden it's, oh my goodness, I'm your father, I'm your mother. So, you know, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, all of a sudden, Luke, I am your father, okay, fine. Who cares? I don't care. Maybe I should care. Is that weird? I don't know. I can't explain this one. I just don't like the whole revealed parent thing. I find it boring and pointless and just not a fan. Then we have the irredeemable protagonist. So quite often in books we will start with a character who is problematic, and there are either one or many things about their personality that we don't like and we're not meant to like, but they grow as a person throughout the course of the book or series and we grow to love them. And then sometimes we have a character who is just a complete the whole way through. And there's nothing that can be done to improve them as a person. And it's not that I have a problem with characters who aren't likeable, because sometimes with antagonists, for example, you love to hate a character who is just an awful, awful person. But I just don't like the lack of character progression, really. I'm a very character-driven reader, so I just feel like I need a little bit of character development throughout my stories, and so the irredeemable protagonist just doesn't really work for me. And then the final trope that I want to talk about in this video is the characters splitting up at crucial points trope. Now, I'm not talking about breakups because that happens in books, particularly romance books. I'm not a huge fan of that, but what I'm specifically talking about is we have a crucial scene in the midst of all the action and the characters who are currently nice and safe and in a group and, you know, looking out for each other decide, let's split up and go our separate ways to try and defeat this thing that we're trying to deal with, because that sounds like a great idea because, you know, strengths in numbers is not a thing. I find it frustrating and silly. It's like, you know, in films where characters are being chased by something and they run up a flight of stairs all the way to the top of a building, and it's like, no, that's stupid. Don't do that. When you get to the top, you've got nowhere else to go. Run down and outside so that you've got places to flee. Don't run up, because when you get to the top, that's it. Don't split up, because then you're on your own, and if something comes for you, you have to deal with it by yourself rather than in the nice, safe group that you were in. It doesn't make sense to me. Why do characters do this? Why do they do it? It clearly makes no sense, and I don't like it. It's just silly. Again, not sure if that's necessarily a trope, but I don't like it. So here it is. So those were 10 tropes that I don't like. It's currently 10 to 10. I probably shouldn't have got myself this worked up at this time of night, but I have to stay up and edit a few videos anyway, so it'll be fine. Let me know some tropes that you are not a fan of down in the comments, and that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.